how did you get to New York City?
Oh, shit. Now I feel like I need to look at my notes. No. So I'll say, here I go with filler words. What brought me to the city is I actually never wanted to move to New York.
Okay.
I have my entire extended family was out here, and I was adamant about never living in New York. But it did get to the point where I wanted to pursue comedy more seriously. And since I work in advertising, New York and comedy capitals of the world for that. So I found a way to move out here for that. But I spent my summers coming out here. Because before I did camp as a kid, my mom would basically like ship me out here because I had a bunch of cousins, and she just like leave me on Staten Island, and she's like, "Good luck, Godspeed," and then she'd come back at the end of the summer and pick me up.
So you actually came a few years ago, or how long have you been here?
I've been here 7 years now.
7 years, okay.
Yeah, but I didn't start comedy until 2 years ago.
But that was always a part of the plan in some way.
Yeah, I talked about doing comedy for a very long time. I also pride myself on being somebody who doesn't just talk about doing something. I talk about doing it.
Yeah.
And for a while when I first started, I beat myself up for not starting it sooner because I feel like I could have been further than I am now. That being said, I would say in the last 6 months, I actually think I started at the right time because there is there's a point in time where I was faking it, faking the confidence, faking I don't want to say everything, but like I very much practiced and did, even if I wasn't good at it.
Yeah.
And I presented myself in an extremely confident way. And I think for the first time, I can actually say I am confident. I do know who I am. And I have built I present myself as being unapologetically myself, but I actually think I am now, if that makes sense.
How did you know you eventually wanted to go into comedy? Where did that desire or interest come from?
I was a theater kid. I always knew I was a performer. I'll say that. I did theater, speech, debate, dance, modeling, if that counts. And I always knew I wanted to perform. I always knew that if I could have public speaking as a job, that's what I wanted to do. I'm never going to be a politician. Tell you that right now. And I did original comedy as a speech and debate topic, which essentially is stand-up. And how I got to comedy is I've always been a creative person, and stand-up feels like the first time I'm consistently challenged. I don't have a guaranteed output coming from somebody else, or I don't have a guaranteed result that I can expect yet. So that's what makes it challenging. It's also allows me to truly be creative without being handcuffed. I work in advertising. There's a lot of handcuffing of creativity. I actually don't think it's creative at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And stand-up allows me to be creative. It challenges me because there's so much inconsistency and I don't know what I'm going to get in return. It allows me to be on stage. And now I get to own my brand and my story my way. And really, no one's going to tell me how to do it.
For sure.
So
you're like a little startup.
Oh, exactly. I'm monetizing me. Like I want to monetize me. I'm literally 50% creative and very much 50% organized, corporate, queen, creative, entrepreneurial. I have a lot of passions and interests. Comedy will always be something I'm going to do. It will be an avenue in which I do things. It will never be the only thing I do because I've never been the person to just do one thing.
So you've been here 7 years and you've been doing comedy 2 years.
2 years.
What was the push that finally got you to move in that direction?
Leaving my corporate job at L'Oreal. My lease was coming to an end. And I literally moved out here to do comedy and haven't done a thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I can either just whatever, pack up, move to LA, because that was always kind of the plan, or I can stick around, get another job, potentially remote. So if I do want to move to LA, I can. But at least like try comedy here. So I signed up for a class, did the class, and basically haven't really looked back since. I started my first 6 months, I did 16 shows. My first full year, I did 140 shows.
Wow.
And now I'm at 2 years and 2-ish months, and I'm sitting at like 260 shows.
Damn.
Yeah.
As you look back on the 5 years when you weren't going into comedy,
Yeah.
where do you think the resistance was coming from?
Well, we can throw the pandemic in there.
That's true.
I think if the pandemic didn't happen, I would have done it sooner. I also think the pandemic reminded me that that's what I wanted to do, because I went back to doing silly raps and things on social media. When Snapchat first came out, I was like, I'm going to be Snapchat famous. And I used to do these Wednesday hump day raps. Like, and I don't know if you remember like what's cursing? I'm sorry.
Curse. Yeah,
okay. The camel, is it, we're like, what day is it? Hump day? Like, I used to come up with raps about like Wednesday hump day on Snapchat and like hand out my handle to people on the train in Chicago.
Wow.
And I went back to doing that during the pandemic because I'm like, I got time. So I went, and my friends were like, oh my God, you got to go back to doing this. There's a lot of me that thinks if I was born later, then I would be like a TikTok star of some sort. Because like dancing videos, silly videos, everything like that. I used to do it all before digital cameras or before cameras even existed. And then when Snapchat came out, I capitalized it. I have like almost 20,000 followers on Snapchat. I forgot the question.
Well, I know from talking to you before we started recording, you've had a long and meandering road to get to New York.
Yeah.
You can talk about whatever parts of your life you would like to, but we talked about your time in jail.
Yeah. Sure.
Anything that you want to share from that experience in any detail, I would love.
Yeah, of course.
And if there's any relation to what you're doing now as a comedian, you talked about you were, I know, a bit of a leader there. You were an organizer in jail. What happened? How did that even occur in your life?
Your girl likes to party. And I went to the University of Arizona, bear down. And, when the sun's out, 24/7, partying is available 24/7. And this is in an age of no Ubers and unavailable taxis and things to that effect. So I got a DUI. I got possession of paraphernalia, which was a weed pipe at the time before it's legal.
Yeah.
And then I also assaulted an officer. Hold on. Hold on. It wasn't a human officer. Okay. It was the horse.
What did you do?
Well, I love horses and I love animals, and I like really, it's on my like life bucket list to birth a horse. Sorry, this is why I need structure. But there was a horse literally like tied up in Tempe, and I was drunk, of course, because nothing I've done is truly sober. And I went and I wanted a hug. So I went and hugged the horse, and then I'm like petting the butt.
Well, after you got arrested for a DUI?
First I got arrested for paraphernalia, marijuana paraphernalia on the way to a country festival.
Okay, so these are separate incidents.
Okay. Yeah. This is what landed me 42 days in jail.
Okay. And the horse hug was the final kick?
No, the DUI was the final kick.
The DUI was the final kick.
DUI was the final kick because it's so funny. as I do, became friends and friendly with the cops arresting me. They didn't handcuff me. They let me keep my phone. They're like, you know what? Like, you seem actually quite lucid. So we're going to like kill some time and we'll let you blow a little bit later. And maybe it's like not going to be a thing.
Wow.
So, yeah. You got to just schmooze some people, you know? This is what you got to do. What they didn't know is I was a raging alcoholic and me waiting. Actually, I ended up blowing a super extreme. So the legal limit's 0.08. I blew a 1.2. Yeah. And I want to say that I was in a collegiate class of drinkers. I did not drink with the women. I drank with the boys. I outdrank the boys. I could do a 6-beer beer bong in less than 30 seconds. And I have video proof.
When you say point, do you mean 0.12 or 1.2?
1.2.
1.2.
1.2.
So you're far over 10 times the legal limit?
Correct. You're just, all right, save the judgment.
How are you not dead?
Oh, please.
That was not unusual.
No, because after that, I got a breathalyzer. Not in the, like, because I always wanted to know. The reality, what I learned actually through all of that is my body actually metabolizes things slower, and I have not a great liver still to this day. So, unfortunately, to my not defense, I blew, and then they ended up pulling my blood because they were like, oh, there's got to be something wrong with these. Yeah. Because again, I'm so lucid and I'm having a conversation. They're telling me how they're going to like have to call my mom. I'm like, you're not going to want to do that. Like, yeah, I promise you don't want to do that. But I basically, these three, I got the possession of paraphernalia, which put me on probation.
Yeah.
Then I bet the police horse in Tempe, okay, which is considered assaulting an officer. And by the way, this is like 6 to 8 weeks apart.
Okay.
Then I am out, get in a fight with a guy I'm dating, angry, leave the bar, go make a wide turn. I get pulled over for the wide turn, get the DUI. By the way, I'm already on probation for the two other things.
Yeah.
By the way, the probation, because they were in two different cities, the courts have not aligned the fact that I'm on probation for two separate things in two separate counties.
Yeah.
But the DUI helped connect the beautiful triangle that it is.
Yeah.
And initially, the judge sentenced me to 6 months because she's like, you clearly need to learn a lesson.
Yeah.
And there was an element of white privilege that they were projecting onto me. I was a business student. But like, and at this point, the lawyer can't say like, this is her first defense.
No.
You know, it's, no, she clearly has a drinking problem, does not know, cannot control and contain anything. But I ended up hiring a lawyer, got reduced down to 42 days and in jail. But thankfully, I had been in a holding cell of a prison. So going into this jail, I wasn't as nervous. And I was given the example of it's a lot like camp. So I went in. It is a lot like camp. But it's also like nice. There's TVs, there's couches. Like I did organize sports. I told you I created a whole program. But when I was there, I immediately knew the only way I have to make the best of this. And the only way I'm going to do that is if I make friends. If I make friends with the people who are running the place, and if I make friends with the people I'm surrounded by, because I'm also in a jail where it's not just DUI people. I mentioned to you before, the woman I slept next to, Diana, stabbed her boyfriend 11 times with a tree branch.
While on acid
In a forest. And there's also other women who literally like used to hijack cars, hold people at gunpoint. One woman talked about beating her child to almost death. Like there's a lot of different dynamics and personalities in jail.
Is this a medium security? Like what's the level?
It was considered medium.
Okay.
Because nobody killed anyone. Side note, when I was in the prison holding cell, I was with people who killed people. And we were jam-packed in like a closet, and there was 18 of us, and nothing's more uncomfortable when you have to go number 2 in front of 18 people, some of which you've killed somebody.
For those of us who don't know, a holding cell is one massive room?
No.
No, okay. What?
A holding cell is where they put you before they place you. So a holding cell is, so you get checked in. They haven't established your risk assessment, meaning can you only be with one person in a cell? Can you be with 4 people? Can you be in more of like a sleeping bunk situation? And it's usually classified by what you're in there for.
Yeah.
The reason I was in mixed company for my 42 days in jail is because my super extreme is considered a felony. So I was in with people who had done felonies. So that's where I was like bundled. But the holding cell is where they place you before you get arraigned and then assigned to basically your
future home.
Future home. Future home. And in the holding cell, it's I would say probably like where you're I'm pointing and we're on an audio podcast. Think about it like a utility closet.
Okay.
The bench maybe sits 6 people. So people are on the ground. You're on top of each other. It was overcrowded because it was Pinal County Prison. So, and there was a music festival going on. So there's an abundance of people who had gotten into trouble, who got thrown into there. And you have to wait to be seen before you get placed. So thankfully I didn't get placed in the prison because that was my first offense. And they did take my blood work and I hadn't had weed or anything in my system. So I was let go and they let me free. But after that was my holding cell experience. After that, regular jail was...
Tell me about that. Tell me about like the day of actually going in and what you remember from those 42 days that especially is funny that maybe you would like to use in your...
Well, so you asked how this translates to comedy. Ironically, the first bits and sets that I wrote, the first 5 minutes I ever wrote was mainly like about dating, right? My jail bit came about, I was taking a class at the Comedy Cellar with Veronica Mosey, and I was trying to explain, I threw it out there that I had been to jail, and I had made the joke more about how I had made friends outside of jail, and how jail was like camp, and I kept it very surface level. And she was like, holy shit, wait, you've actually been to jail? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you gotta write about that. This is a gold mine. So I ended up turning it into a bit. And when I watch back the original, it's so god awful. But it was, in terms of comedy, that was the first time I talked about it. I hated it. And I honestly kind of don't love my jail bit at all. I don't love my jail stories. But what I have learned is it has set me apart as a comic. Yeah. I do think it's the reason I've gotten into as many comedy festivals as I have. I think it's the reason I get accepted into a lot of shows too, because there are so many women out there talking about dating or family or kids. Not many talking about who are corporate badasses who served 42 days in jail. Yeah. And I got thrown in the hole for making literal like Christmas trees out of magazines and making vision boards. It was considered like messing with jail property. So that's gotten into the bit. I also talk a lot about how the corrections officers loved me, male and women, primarily the women. And I learned a lot about body positivity by like having to bend over and cough and get naked. And it's like, it's a whole new experience of like, yeah, I'm confident. Look at me. I'm going to bend over and spread for you, baby girl. How does that? It got to a point where I'd ask them like, but I like look good, right? Like I'm okay, right? Like, yeah. And they would literally look at me like, why are you asking me this right now? And I'm like, but like, yeah, I'm like overweight, but I still like look good, right? I They're like,
fishing for
"Go."
compliments.
They're like, always. I'm like, I need validation. I haven't been validated, and I know you ladies like bees. But they weren't allowed to comment, but afterwards they did. They follow me on Instagram now. They came to my shows.
What are your big takeaways, or a big takeaway from that experience? I know, as you said, you spent 3 days in solitary confinement. Yeah. What still stays with you from that experience?
I learned that I'm an introverted extrovert, that I need to recharge alone, and I need to, honestly, the value of being alone. I think there's a lot of people, and I'm sure if I was in there longer, it would have been a very different experience. 3 days in the grand scheme of things isn't that long. And I feel like I put myself in voluntary solitary confinement all the time.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
If not for longer than 3 days. Because I'm a solo traveler too. But takeaway from being in the hole would be, one, valuing of the alone time. Also that no matter what, I'm going to be creative. Because when I was in there, I mentioned to you, I was rapping, I was dancing, I was singing, I was coming up with business plans. Like, I have a lot of ideas up here. And if I actually have that alone time and have some time to put it on paper and reflect, holy shit, the things that I can do. But did I think about maybe I shouldn't be drinking and partying as much? No. I still struggle with that right now.
Is it fair to say that experience in the hole was a bit of a game changer for you, in that it showed you, your normal life, you have all these inputs, all this social time, not that much intentional solitude that allows the inputs to become outputs?
Absolutely. And you actually triggered something. What I learned in the hole is, if you have focused time, how much you can accomplish.
For sure.
And I literally translated that immediately out of college. And the irony of me translating that immediately out of college is, my CEO at the time, I was in ad sales. I was telling him, I'm like, yeah, I block off my day. If I have 90 minutes uninterrupted, I can get so much done. And he's like, gee, there are Harvard studies on this. If you have 90 minutes uninterrupted, you are 70% more productive than most of the United States population.
Yeah.
So solitary confinement taught me, if I have focused time, holy shit, what can I accomplish? And that's also what's allowed me to be entrepreneurial, to do all the things that I do. I have side businesses, side projects, and things that I do. And people a lot of times are like, how do you do it? I'm like, first of all, I'm a morning person. So that morning time, I get a lot done because no one's bothering me. 2, so many people get lost in the sauce, right, left. ADD is king. And if you sit down and focus and actually do, not think and talk, world's your oyster.
Yeah.
Most people get caught up in fantasizing. What the whole taught me is, okay, if I'm going to sit here and write this out, what am I doing next? How am I going to apply this?
Yeah. Is it fair to say that the jail experience, in retrospect, was very long-term, at least positive for you?
100%. And absolutely, I made friends. Let me just put it to you this way. Yeah, I had drinking. I love to party. There were so many other things that I did that were criminally worse. I sold fake IDs in college. With a legit printer. You shouldn't be doing that, right? And I could have gotten in a lot of trouble for that. I could have legitimately be put in a prison holding cell. So I think it was also the universe being like, all right, we got to rein this girl in a little bit. I don't know if it reined me in that much. I feel like only my 30s did. But yeah, jail, managing hierarchy is what it's allowed me to grow in the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
The making friends, if you make friends, anything can be enjoyable. So I've applied that to my everyday work life. A lot of people don't want to be friends with the people they work with. I do. Because if I like you and we're friends, first of all, you're more likely to do what I ask of you, which is also why I'm effective. 2, I'm not going to be miserable, because at the end of the day, the work that we do inside the corporate walls isn't fun or great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about your first time actually doing stand-up. We talked a little bit about this offline.
Real stand-up? Okay, well, hold on. So there's the first time doing stand-up, I think I told you, I talked a lot about doing stand-up.
Yeah.
And I think I also said that I just kind of pretended like I was doing it and I would speak it into existence. And then it got to a point where my boss in Arizona was like, all right, let's get a bunch of people to go to a show. And I was like, okay, because I wasn't going to back down from that. I'm like, so I literally found a place. They're like, oh, if you can bring 5 people to this show, like you can go up. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'd never written a set. I'd never done any of that. I sold maybe 10, 15 tickets, got a bunch of people to come to a show. I also had this moment of like, shit, I don't know what I'm going to say up there. So what I did was I convinced my 2 roommates at the time, because I was living in Arizona, let's just go to San Diego for 24 hours. I'm going to get some stories that way. And we literally drove to San Diego, stayed at Motel San Diego, partied, did some stupid shit. Then I came back, talked about it on stage. I wouldn't say I bombed, but also as I was there, I presented myself like, I've done this. I can do this. That's a lot of how I present myself. I walk in. You typically can't pick up on if I've done something or not. I just figure it out as I go. And that's exactly what I did. And I remember there's this pro comic that I was talking to before going on stage. He was a writer in LA. He had done some writing on SNL. And he was a comic. I don't remember his name. God, what I would do to get that tape. But he's like, I'm excited to see you on stage, because he like just saw the way I like handled myself and articulated myself. And I went on stage, I spoke, got off, and it's like, okay. Like he could tell I did not know joke structure. I was just up there just talking about funny stories. And then I basically fessed up and I was like, yeah, that's the first time I've ever been on stage. And he's like, oh, you've got amazing stage presence. You should be doing this. But then basically how I actually got into doing it for real, I mentioned before, getting on the cusp of, am I staying or going? So I took the class, staying or going out of New York, and I went to Gotham Comedy Club. I saw Alex Babbitt. He's a up-and-coming professional comedian. Go up on stage, and he was hanging around afterwards, and I went up to him and I was like, hey, oh my God, I love your set. You're so great. I've been thinking a lot about doing comedy. And he was like, I picked up on your energy when I was on stage. I'm picking up on it now. You should do it. And that was like kind of like the second check. And then I was like, screw it. I'm leaving my job. I'm going to take a class. We're going to go from there. And that was it. So but then my first show doing it for realsies after like taking a class, I crushed. If you listen to the laughs on that, I think I have maybe 1 or 2 other tapes that get you that.
Really?
Yeah. In a room of 300 people, it's roaring laughter. I'm on and I'm animated. I was putting on a theatrical performance. It was not a conversation by any means. So for a first real show in a room of 300 people, yeah, I crushed. I killed it. There were lulls, but for the most part, you just listen to just the laughs and killed it. And then there was one other time last year in April when I did the Laughing Buddha Comedy Festival that, again, I watch back that tape and I want to like kill myself because I'm just like, oh my God, I'm talking so fast. What am I even doing? What am I even saying? But again, rolling laughs. Like I'm cutting the audience off. I don't think I've officially bombed, because I hear my friends talk about bombing where it's just crickets. Yeah. And you get nothing. I have not experienced that. I've had bad sets. Don't get me wrong. I've had where I lost my mind on an audience member because I'm like, just shut the fuck up. But I want to bomb. I learn more from failing. I'm big on feedback and failure because for the most, I don't compare myself to others. I'm pride myself on that. And that's why when I watch back my tapes, I'm like, nope, that can be better. That can be better. I am my worst enemy. So I need the audience to never laugh for me to feel like, okay, now I have something to go off of. Now I can take this and pivot and think about it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Did I offend somebody? And I think a lot, like New York is the mecca for comedy, but you also have to take your shit outside of New York. When I first started doing comedy, like first time I ever performed in LA, I realized, oh, this is different. But then the first time I performed in Arizona, I felt like Seinfeld. So it's all different. And that's the reason comics go on the road. One, to make money. And two, to make sure your stand-up stands the test of time. You want a special, it's got to be somewhat universal.
The first time after you crushed in front of 300 people, where you were talking about the roaring laughter going through the crowd, and I know you said you've done now hundreds of shows since then. What strategically, like, how did you go from the first event to then getting more stage time? What did you do?
So, well, I may have mentioned this to you. The guy who ran the show sends an email to certain comics afterwards offering them more stage time. He was offering 6 minutes. He was offering 7 minutes.
At Gotham or around the city?
Around the city. Some of it was Gotham, Laurie Beecham Theater. There was another, like smaller, like non-club venues.
Yep.
But he was saying that like other bookers and things were there. So I did bringer shows. So between his shows and then I learned about Laughing Buddha, which is also another like independently, I would say the New York's largest independently produced comedy
competition, right?
It's not just a competition. They're a company. Like they put on shows 7 days a week. They have mics 7 days a week. And Laughing Buddha was my second show that I had ever done. What was also interesting is when I told Darren Passarello, who runs it, that was my second show, and Gina Brione, professional comedian, very funny, I'll never forget it. I got off stage and she was like, really good set, funny stuff. And I was like, that's my second time on stage. And she was like, oh, you're born to do this. You are born to do this. And I agree. Look, anytime this is, I don't know if this is cocky or not, but anytime anybody who knows me hears that I'm doing stand-up, nobody's surprised.
Yeah.
No, everyone actually thinks I'm going to be on a billboard in 5 years. Is that reality? Not likely. 7 years? Maybe. But I'm all about cheating the system and getting there faster. But
does it feel like when you're up there that you were meant to do it? I mean, is like internally, are you getting signals that there's a certain aptitude that you have for this and you just love to do it?
I command a room. And I learned that in my day job working in advertising and in sales and when I did theater. Even if I had a small part, people remembered me. Second grade, I was Miss Trunchbull in the play Matilda. My friends' parents, if they still see me to this day, bring up me as Miss Trunchbull in Matilda. Okay? I have an aptitude. I have a stage presence, which I hate that phrase and term, honestly, because I'm like, tell me I'm funny. Don't tell me I have great stage presence because I want to be told I'm funny. I need to be told I'm funny, not that I have great stage presence. But when I'm up there, I command attention. And even if there isn't a laugh, people are looking at me and people are hanging on to every word. And I can tell when people are engaged. And that's how I know I was meant to do this.
What do you like to talk about? You know, most great comedians have something or many things they want to say or feel like they need to say. Is that true for you? What themes do you like to comment on?
I have like a list of specials too, because I have themes that like I know I'm going to be able to go in depth on. Jail is definitely a part of it, obviously. And one thing I will say is like DC Benny, he's like a coach and somebody I've taken classes with. And I think I had mentioned to you, I hate my jail stuff. But his first piece of feedback on me when he like looked at my set and he's like, all right, you want to make it, kid? Lean into being Albanian and lean into jail. That's going to set you apart. That's going to get you booked. And I was like, fuck. those are the things I don't want to talk about. Like, I don't want to talk about those things. But now the more and more stand-up I watch, the more and more I realize why he gave me that advice. And I am leaning into it, but I don't want that to be my entire identity. I want to bring in my corporate queenness to it all. I also want to bring in some of like my neuroticness. I get a lot of feedback that I am not vulnerable enough on stage. To be fair, I'm not vulnerable in life. I've been going to therapy for 20 years. Okay. Like, there's a reason I am single. There's like, you're telling me like, cool, thanks. Be vulnerable. Like, cool. If it was that easy, I would be there. Like, but I would say themes are like corporate life. Definitely jail. I want to, and I haven't done this yet, talk about how much I overanalyze. I have spreadsheets on every inner thought and inner working that I've done. I want to talk about dating, but in the light of like what goes on in my head. Like I remember once this guy invited me over to his apartment. I'm like, oh my God, does he like me? I guess I wouldn't be at this apartment. And do I look pretty? Wait, did I brush my teeth? And hold on. Wait, he likes me, but hold on. He said he doesn't want to sleep with me. And wait, hold on. Did he say I was pretty or did he not say I was pretty? Wait, did we have too much to drink? I'm literally going through this a mile a minute. And then I'm coming out like, hey, what's up?
Like the inner monologue and what's presented.
My inner monologue. But I'm like, yo, what are you doing? Let me wow you with my kissing skills. And then I literally come up with the scenario of like, how am I going to kiss this man? Like literally. And I want to talk about that side of dating because it's not as cliche. I also want to talk about the fact that my mom always told me to marry for money, and she was always told me to marry for money, and she always dated married men. And that's actually played a role in how I approach relationships. And I want to find a way to bring that to stage. I also want to talk about how I want to be a second wife because I don't want to be a first wife. Second wife's where it's at, right? Like learn, figure that all out. If you need to have kids, pop them out, do it. I'd love to do a whole bit on or a whole theme on no kids. I have not figured out a way to do that without turning 50% of the audience off because a lot of them have kids. But I don't want them. I'm passionate about it. I would say I connect with Chelsea Handler a lot in that as I've gotten older. I didn't used to like her comedy growing up. I loved her show, Chelsea Lately. But her stand-up I didn't connect with. But now hitting the closer upper 30 area, I respect Chelsea and how she brings her badassness. Like she's a pro. Like she's not just a professional comedian. She's got a legit podcast, talk show. She wants to write a book. She's writing a book. Like I fuck with that. I want to do that. So thematically, the things I want to bring the world into is jail aside, like just like my entrepreneurialness, my aptitude for planning things. Oh, I coordinate trips. I color coordinate what my friends are going to wear because I want the pictures to be aesthetically pleasing. Like, I want to invite you into that. I want you to like get to know me in that lens. I want you, because the people who know me and they see my stand up they pee themselves. That's partially why I started a podcast. I want people to potentially find me, get to know me that way. So then when they see my stand-up, it's so much funnier.
What is it about the child-free desire, as I understand what you just said, that you think would offend 50% of the audience? What do you have to say that they don't want to hear?
How kids ruin people's lives.
What do you mean by that?
I think there are a lot of parents... There are a lot of people who go have kids to have purpose and then realize a kid isn't going to actually give them purpose. I've got an opinion on that. I also think there's very few people who are equipped to handle what it takes to take care of a child. And they kind of figure it out and then they mold the minds that end up forming the rest of this world, which is kind of scary because there's zero qualifications required for being a parent. I want to talk about more comfortably Y'all are selfish. You're having kids because you're selfish, because you either are trying to fix your relationship or you're trying to find a purpose in life. You're not going to solve it that way. You need to figure out you first. You need to figure out you need to figure out how to communicate in your relationship before you just add a kid to the equation. So I turn a lot of people off that way because I actually think parents are selfish.
Who meet that qualification, who meet that definition as you just described it. They're basically.
I think a lot of parents. I think every parent is selfish. You have a kid, you're selfish. You brought this child into the world that didn't ask to be there.
Yeah.
And from the very beginning, you are selfish. You cater a baby shower. Baby's not invited. You're curating toys. You are now molding this child into what you want it to be. To me, that's selfish. People are like, no, it's like my love and passion, and I get to see me and my significant other make this person. Sure. But I want to find a way to make that funnier.
Yeah.
And that it doesn't have to be your purpose. Like, I don't stop telling me I need to have kids. It happens every year I get older. Like, did you freeze your eggs? I'm like, no. I say all that to say, do you think there will come a point in time in my life where I adopt or I foster? Well, I love animals, so I'll always have animals in my life, but I was a legit camp counselor, and I was good with kids. I am good with kids. I do think I will have a certain ability to give back. And I remember working with group home kids in college when I worked at the YMCA, and I know I would be a good mom. I have no question. They would have the best birthday parties. But the reason I don't want to be a parent has more to do with I have so many other passions and things that I want to do that I've settled on. I want a partner. I definitely want a partner. I want a partner in crime and somebody to share the successes with. I don't think adding a kid to the equation is going to be fair for me and my partner, just given all that I want to do. And unfortunately, having a kid, a lot of the work is on the woman.
Yeah. I think you said a minute ago that you think it's often the case that kids ruin parents' lives.
Yeah.
Do you have friends or do you know people that have confided that to you privately?
I don't think it's private. I think they openly talk about it.
What do they say?
I've had friends who are like, oh, it's a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. I even have some I'm not going to call out names, but I have some mentors who have said, like, if they could do it all over again, like they love their kids, they're thankful for them, but they didn't get to pursue certain things in their lives because the volume of time and effort it takes to have a kid. And then if you have more than one, it takes an army.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize all that goes into it to do it right and effectively.
Yeah. The theory that they have or the hypothesis they have versus the reality of the day-to-day experience of actually committing yourself and doing that for many, many years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No.
Where do you these days? Where do you perform? What are your favorite venues in New York?
Sure. Ooh, that's a fun question. Then I perform. So I do a lot of independent shows.
Okay.
Not really like past or anything at any comedy clubs. But so I perform a lot with Laughing Buddha. I am fortunate enough to have a lot of friends who produce their own shows. I'm also very fortunate that some of the coaches and professional comedians that I'm friends with have referred me onto shows on the road. I think I mentioned to you, I did 20 shows in LA last month, all just through like referrals and getting out there. My favorite club to perform at, I would say, is The Stand. It's a good room, either room that you're in. I also I've only did an open mic there, but I do want to try and do a show there. It's a new club called Fear City. That's in East Village. I like the intimacy of the room. And by the way, I say all that to say, I've taken Comedy Cellar classes, and performing at the Comedy Cellar is like no other. And if I were to pick, it would be that. But I don't consider class shows real shows. So I feel like I can't say that yet. But I have produced my own shows with Comedy Cellar comics because I wanted to see how I would do in a batch of them. And I did well. Because like if you're in the middle, and everyone's in a laughing mood and they're geared up, you're good to go.
Can you tell you're getting better? And if so, how?
Absolutely.
How can you tell?
Delivery, first and foremost, conciseness of the jokes. And I, especially my first year, went into recite mode because I had my set memorized. So I was going through the motions. Sometimes I would black out. I know I did my whole set. I watched the tape, but I don't know where I was. I wasn't connecting with the audience. I knew I started getting better through more listening to myself instead of watching myself. So a lot of times I will lay down, close my eyes, and listen to myself. And I can tell if I'm in the moment or if I'm in what I would consider a recite mode. And I can even tell through the audience. But I can tell that I'm getting better too is because I'm not like so rigid going from one bit to another. I found a way to interject audience interaction, and now I'm way more comfortable going in, not necessarily having a formulaic set that I'm going to go into next. And I think, so Kevin Dabrowski, he was the first teacher and coach to really crack the code for me where it made sense. Because I'd gotten a lot of similar feedback, but it hadn't made sense of like, you're performative, you're not present, you're not feeling the way you feel in that moment. And I didn't get it. And I would hate when people would tell me, you're so animated, you're so theatrical. Because I'm sure even as you can tell, sitting here talking to me, I'm very animated. Yeah. I'm very like reactive. But it wasn't authentic on stage. And that was like a switch for me, is when I was like authentically feeling the way I felt that day and how the audience was feeling, and then reacting. Like something that I knew should have been funny means I didn't say it right. So let's just like double click in and maybe restate it or go back. Like I have a joke about how I masturbate with a Theragun. But if your immediate reaction isn't to laugh, I'm like, oh shit, maybe you don't know what a Theragun is. So that's how I know I've gotten better, is just mainly delivery. And I also can tell in my writing. I can now look back at like what I've written and I'm like, oh, I'm going to switch that word around. That doesn't need to be there. That context isn't needed. Oh, moving this order up. I now know how, I don't know, but I'm better at, I want to say, writing on stage. Playing around with organization and knowing that where it currently exists isn't where it's going to be. And I'm less mechanical is maybe the best way to put it.
How do you, when you said earlier that the jail experience, one of its effects on you was teaching you the value of solitude to sort of jumpstart your creativity and output. Do you feel like you have enough of that in your life, enough quiet time, solitude to put fuel on the fire of the things that you want to do?
No. I especially in the last 8 months, because I took a new job last October. Oh my God, it's going to be a year. Shit. God damn it. It's funny. My entire life prior to comedy, I said I wanted to be C-suite at an advertising agency. I said I wanted to do a lot of things, but that was one of them. And I've navigated getting there fairly quickly. And I got a job in the most senior role I've ever been in my entire life. And that's when everything every mentor and boss ever told me is like, you don't want to be C-suite.
Yeah.
You don't want, like, it's not, you get taken away from the fun of the work. You get taken away from the actual work. Now you're dealing with politics, finances, people, and now you got to randomly travel. And I mentioned to you, like, I'm blessed to have gotten to do all of that. But now having the increased volume of responsibility, I've actually taken myself away from comedy, from some of that momentum I think I had my first year. I say all that to say, I then reflected 3 days ago and I was like, oh, but I still have done like 70 shows this year. It's like not that bad. Like, I know comics who probably done less, but I also set out to double the amount of shows that I did last year this year. And I know that won't be the case. I'm telling myself not to be super hard on me. I did also realize in the last few months that if I'm going to do comedy full time, I need to right size some of what I'm doing financially. I need to set up a nice little nest egg for myself so that I can comfortably switch to more of a contractual consulting type style.
Yeah.
And I've processed that, which means I need to like change some of the things that I'm doing. I say that because like my coach's wife, she's a therapist, DC Benny's wife. I forget her name. Shout out to her though. She's like written books, psychology, therapist, all that. And the first thing she said to me within 7 minutes of meeting me was she's like, "Oh, so are you going to like do comedy full time?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just like, I want to. I just need to figure out like how to make the math work." And she's like, "Well, you need to reevaluate your relationship with money." The woman doesn't know me. She has no idea my relationship with money. I'm like, that is very real and true. Holy crap, that is true. But it's because, especially now that I understand how little comics make, I like wonder how many years is it going to take for me to get to where I'm at currently?
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
I think because even people with Netflix specials aren't there. So I definitely have to like reestablish baselines and switch up a couple things to allow myself to do it more.
This is a good segue into the last question I want to ask you, which is about how you think about success. If we talked in 2 years or 3 years, what does a successful career in this world look like to you? You were just talking about the financial component to it, but
so to me,
what's the dream?
For me, my dream, big baby. It's not just stand up. I definitely want to have my own comedy club, and I want it'll likely be I want to have my own comedy club. The way I've seen these comedy clubs run right now, I'm not going to throw shade. I know I can do it better. Fact. Every show I've produced, I've sold out. Didn't put in that much effort. I know I can do that on a consistent basis. I know how to set up the business model where I don't have to be reliant on ticket sales and optimize like the space during the day. So first and foremost, in 3 years, I want to be able to start looking for my comedy to be in a place of I have an hour that I want to record, first and foremost. I would like to be ready to be auditioning at least for a club. 3, do you know what Don't Tell Comedy is?
No.
So Don't Tell is a chain. They do shows all across the world now. And it's pop-up comedy shows where they don't tell you the lineup. And the lineup's all walks of life. From a Bill Burr to somebody who's like up and coming. But it's in cool, unique locations. Like it's been in a mattress firm. It's been in a Louis Vuitton store. It's been in an art gallery. Like they've really reimagined how to do comedy. I want to do that with brunch comedy. I want to create a new time slot for comedy. And also, do you know the untapped network of people who want to go out at 1:00 and not 8 p.m.?
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So what success looks like for me is starting my own club, figuring out a way to like create brunch time comedy as a thing, getting ready to audition for a major legit club, have at least an hour. I also would like to do a one-woman show, which may not be as stand-up-y, and be in a position to only have to do some of like the marketing and advertising stuff part-time. And I've genuinely started to map this out, like as how I'm going to get it done.
So you're on your way.
Oh, I'm on my way.
Gylije, thanks for doing this.
Of course.